All right, welcome back, everybody. Up next, Monica Brown in Hood County, Texas. Monica, what are you doing this week to save America?
Okay, so the number one thing I'm doing is getting started with a series of trips to Austin, Texas, taking
Mm,
citizens to the Capitol, along with citizens across the state of Texas, so that our reps know our faces and they know what we think, and not just going once, but going over and over and over again for this session. So that's what I'm doing.
yes. So your legislative session in Texas just started. I know there was a big battle with the speaker's race. What came out
Mhm.
of all that?
So the conservatives did not get the speaker that we wanted, which was kind of a shock and a gut, a blow to the gut. But the second move was they decided there was a big push not to allow Democrats to run the chairs of these committees because they were constantly causing trouble for us. So they said, okay, we will not do that. But what we'll do is give them co chair, equal status with the chair. So
Mhm.
the fight is on, and these reps are. When you get around them, some of them are feisty, but some of them you can tell, oh my goodness, they realize it's going to be for however many months we have left of a fight, and
Yeah.
they're just praying for miracles really to get our priorities pushed through.
Help me understand this for people outside of Texas. You look at Texas, oh, it's Texas, it's Republican stronghold and all this. And you're saying that in years past that it's a Republican legislature,
Mhm.
Republican Senate, Republican
Right.
governor, and you've had Democrats chairing different
Yes.
organizations?
Yes, which is like a jaw dropper for everybody, and
Mhm.
they thought, "Oh, we've got so many," and we have had progress because we have more Republicans now, but we still don't have enough apparently, and I think even Texans, myself included, are just kinda confused, like, "What is going on? What this is wackadoodle big time," and so we have another speaker, his name is Burrows, and his first actions are so, well, anyway, it's been a big blow, I think, to the conservatives, but I know we've got people here in our state who are like, "Okay, cry one tear." You're allowed to tear and get busy and fight, fight, fight all year long. And I feel like I've received the call to fight the rest of my life, like to speak
Yeah,
up the rest of my life. Like this isn't a pause when I get to be 65 or whatever, that I need to
right.
stay steady, whatever I can do between now and then.
So, I mean, it's a better move, right? Because you're saying before they would have Democrats chairing these organizations,
Right.
which that's crazy, isn't it? But now
Yes.
you're saying that they're not allowed to chair. The rule is that they're going to co-chair.
They're going to co chair. They also can set up subcommittees. They can put as many Democrats on as they want, from what I understand. I'm
Mhm.
still in the early learning stages of it. I just
Yeah.
know that then they tweeted out, "Oh, we banned Democrat chairs." But what they
Mhm.
did was they set up an equal powered co-chair. So we, as a group, grassroots, are very lit, and we are already
Mhm.
working on primarying these people, and we're going to be
Yeah.
very bold about it. And I think that's something too, that there's a lack of boldness.
Mhm.
Even in our local area, there's been a lack of boldness, and we've let some people run right over us because of a lack of boldness.
Yeah.
And when it's really clear, we should be bold. I get it when we have two candidates that are on the same, stance, but are close, then it's less clear. But when you
Mhm.
have someone who has an entire voting record that's not conservative, claiming to be a conservative,
Right.
then we really need to be bold to call that out. We don't have to be mean about it, but we need to call it out as a body, I think,
Right.
of people. And so timidness is getting us in trouble for sure.
Is there a lot of special interest power, influential power in Texas?
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
Texas is supposed to be like the ninth or something biggest economy in the world.
Mhm.
So there really is a fight for Texas. And I know Texans like to say, we're the best place ever. Every state does that.
Mhm.
But we are really, really large. And to get anything done it is monumental compared to a smaller community.
Yeah.
And so what we do is important. I believe it's very, very important. And there's a lot of looking good, but not actually being good going on.
Mm.
So
Right. So that's why in the trainings that we've been doing, and I really appreciate you bringing some more people in the last couple of trainings that I've done with the How to Grow a Grassroots Army, because
right,
we've got to outweigh that influence of special interest money by having a presence, by having a grassroots. And people look at, oh, it's an off year. It's, the midterms aren't for another year and a half. And
right,
so some GOP clubs are like taking time off or something. But it's like, you guys, obviously you have a legislative session. It's 90 or it
right.
might be 120 days or something. And it's like hot right now. The fact that you're bringing people every week to show their face and to grow a grassroots army,
Mhm.
to be engaged in that process. I commend you for that because it's so important. I always tell the story in this training and I say, okay, two people walk in your congressman's office. One has $1,000, the other one's you. Who's he going to listen to?
Mhm.
Because they're doing math. Well, we raised $1 million in the last campaign. We got 100,000 votes. That's $10 per vote. That guy has $1,000. That's 100 voters he represents. The other
Right,
one's you. So the key is to figure out a way is when you walk in there, how do you represent in your congressman's eyes or your representative's eyes more voters? And that's by growing a grassroots army and
right,
having that constant presence so that they know that we, the grassroots, got you there and we are going to keep you there if
right,
you do good and
right.
be beholden to us, not to them.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and I think the reason we lack boldness and confidence, and myself included, is because I really will not speak boldly and confidently about something I don't understand. Like
Right.
that's like principle number one. I can't
Right.
do it. So I'm learning. And today I just got a thing. It's from a lady named Donna Gardner, but it's all about the Texas Ledge, how bills become a law. It's so great, so
Hmm.
easy. It's everything you need to know where you can click through and figure everything out. There's other groups around here that are very educational. We've got citizen advocate classes. We have people who will literally handhold us and walk us down there so we can just observe until we feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And then, like, you have a couple of things. Well, first of all, I'm waiting for my book. I can't wait to get it because I bought your book.
Yes.
I love liberty, don't you? And I love that.
Right.
So I can't wait to read it and share it and everything. And I'm hoping to get others to eventually do the same. But to basically understand, like you made a big deal about how our freedoms and rights come from God,
Yes.
and that the Constitution is to protect to make the government stay in place. But that isn't where our rights come from.
Correct. That's
So
absolutely right.
that's something I realize a lot of times we say things slightly wrong and we don't mean to, and it does affect us. So
Mhm.
anyway, but learning from those classes that you have, um,
Yeah.
I think that's going to make a difference in the confidence of the
Yes.
individual, so that we can eventually speak, or if we're not speaking, we're doing something else that's influential.
Right.
So
Yeah, and a lot of those I talk about in the book and in the trainings, it's that 30 foundational principles, and it's really about perspective.
right,
And when you understand these things and you have the right perspective, then when you are talking to your representatives, it makes all the difference. For example, I always say, and I catch people all the time, they're like, our leaders in Washington, our local leaders, they're not our leaders. Our
mm,
rights come from God. We
right,
hire them to represent us.
right.
They're public servants. They're not our leaders. You know what I mean? So when you
Yes.
go to Austin and you talk to your representatives, they are public servants. You are their employer. You pay their paycheck. They
Mhm.
report to you.
Right,
It's not the other way around. And so
right.
when you walk in, you got a different sense of confidence there.
Right. So I wanna invite people to
Mhm,
travel with me on
mhm,
Tuesdays, and if
mhm,
Tuesdays don't work, I've got a friend already that Shannon Wolf, who
mhm,
she can't go, she works that day. So I said, "Hey, Shannon, don't worry about it. We'll pick another day,
mhm.
and we'll go again. It won't hurt us to go again, and we're not gonna die of long trips and no sleep." But
Yeah.
anyway, or little sleep. But anyway, we're gonna invite people to go all across the state. I'm asking people to show up, and I'm also
Mhm.
asking them to take their spare time and educate themselves in some form. So, like with your Liberty Restoration Society,
Yes.
for me, you've allowed me to start a group called Constitutional Conservatives, where
Mhm,
we can put, like, I put every taxing entity in my area is in there,
mhm.
and I'm also looking at. There's a few other counties around here that I help a little bit, so I'll probably be gathering that information too. But getting educated, and I think there's a couple things I like about what you're doing, and I just want to say this: is one is you have your Bible program, because
Mhm.
if we don't understand God, that's a big problem.
Yes.
And the second one I think was where you're still working on, is it the Bill of Rights? Were you putting it in common language?
Mhm.
No, was it
Yeah,
the
so
right?
the Constitution's in there in
Okay.
plain language, and I
Yes.
also have an explanation of each clause or each section in there.
Right.
The explanation of the floor debate and how it was actually how did it come about?
Right.
But what I am working on now is a plain language explanation of the Federalist Papers.
Thank you. Federalist Papers. Yeah, it was
Yes.
the Bill of Rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, anyway, so all that said, that just getting more engaged and using more of our
Mhm,
spare time to learn
mhm,
is so powerful. And I'm bringing my children with me. We were at the conservative club here in our town this week, and we got to
mhm.
hear our Republican chairman of the whole state of Texas came to our city and shared with us. And I did feel like some of his steam was gone from the big blow.
Mm,
Like, oh, what can we accomplish? And this is a longer haul than we realize. And I do think one of the shifts has to be that this is a long haul. This is, till death do we part kind of thing.
right.
The rest of our days to
Yeah,
fight for liberty,
yeah.
freedom, and common sense for our children. Last time I heard this man speak, it was just right after the election, but he said the biggest thing we can do this year is speak truth, speak logic,
Yes.
break the woke mind virus, and I think people need each other too. So that
Mhm.
traveling together is going to be good, meeting together, having fun
Mhm.
events,
Mhm.
and just making sure that we keep cultivating relationships and then forgiving each other when we get out of sorts with each other, because that does
Right.
happen too. I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
trying
I always say politics wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for all the people involved.
right.
But on the idea of the Bible study, because I often say, how could we be a a country rooted and birthed on the idea that our rights come from God if we don't spend some time getting to know Him?
Right. Right.
So that's why I have those programs in there. So this is the Liberty Restoration Society online community that you're referring to, and
Mhm.
I'll put a link down below as an invitation to join your constitutional conservatives to get the information that you're putting out. That'll be
Especially if
super
you're
handy.
local. If you're local, Hood County
Yes.
or a surrounding county, and you wanna be in there, you're welcome,
Mhm.
and we are conservatives, though, and that does create a rift sometime, because not all Republicans are as conservative, and I get one of the awards for being, like, the most conservative. I know you do too.
Mhm.
When you're in the Bible and you're reading it and you're attempting to live it, it's gonna automatically do that if you're adhering to it, if you're
Yes.
trying. So
Yes.
that just means that, and that's why I don't know if you wanna talk about vouchers in Texas or not. Do you wanna discuss that briefly?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big issue, and our dear friend Alice has been doing, and her all of the Lynn and everybody, they're all doing a phenomenal job
Right,
exposing. That's where the devil is in the details.
right,
I want school choice, I want freedom. I want to choose where my kids go, but the
right.
way school choice is being presented in Texas and in
Mhm,
other states. I just heard one. I just got a post about, I think they said in South Carolina, that buried in their school choice bill was a provision for home visits, meaning if you get that voucher
hmm,
and you use it for this homeschool curriculum,
mhm.
it now, because the devil in that detail is
Right,
where, it's like that terms and service, terms and conditions. Just check the box, right?
right,
Well, buried in that little fine print is now you are going to be subject to home visits by the government to make sure that you're whatever.
right,
And so if we don't pay attention to the devil in the details, then we're setting up for this massive takeover of all education by the
right,
very bureaucrats and the very system that ruin public education.
right. And so, and just to kind of circle back to something I haven't deeply dived into yet, but you have 10 questions that you ask before you get behind a policy,
Yes.
right? Is that right?
Yes.
10
Yeah,
questions?
that's in the book. So it's
Mhm.
how to analyze proposed legislation with 10 questions.
Because in this case, if I analyzed it, I'd look and go, "Wait, does it create more government spending? Does it interfere with the I don't know what your questions are because I don't have it
Right.
learned yet,
Yeah.
but I think that would save me from having pie on my face or egg or whatever later because I got behind something because I want the freedom, but I'm fiercely independent. I
Yeah.
talked to another mom the other day. She's been a SAHM, a stay-at-home mom for all these years, and you
Mhm.
cannot put her in a box anymore, and they really
Right.
hate that.
Oh, yeah.
Once you've been independent so long, and you lived your life so you can live it the way you want to, led by God and not by somebody else's agenda.
Mhm.
And I'm not perfectly led by God. I don't mean it like that, but I'm just saying, basically being led to each day do what we feel is important
Yeah.
with our family. Then they really cannot squeeze you back into that box, and it's really difficult for them. It's a whole different mindset when you've lived that way.
Right.
So anyway, but
Absolutely.
those
It's
questions are something I plan on learning and making sure people I know, so
mhm.
that we don't get on a horse or something and try to ride it and find out later that was a big mistake.
Exactly, and
So,
what it'll do is, because if you equally apply it to every legislation,
mhm,
one's proposed by Republicans, one's proposed by Democrats, you are then consistent. You will not be called a hypocrite if
right,
you have a consistent set of questions that you analyze proposed legislation.
right. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, love it.
Now I
That's
don't know how
great.
much time we have. Are we over? How we
Wha
doing?
what's that?
How's our time going? I think we might be close to the end.
Oh, yeah, we're doing good. I'll cut
Okay,
it
I was
up
just
and
gonna
we'll do
say,
all that,
just for
but
fun,
yes,
we're reading through the Bible chronologically in our family, and it's been kind of fun because we're doing the New Testament though because we want to start with Jesus. We don't want to,
yes.
but regardless, we got in there and it was so cute because he had murmuring, he had whisper campaigns, he saw that things weren't going well, so he left and went somewhere else. He just kept doing what he was doing elsewhere,
Mhm,
which I really love. It's like I'm seeing in his life a lot of what goes on, or people saying, oh, he's crazy, he has a demon, oh, they're not trying to kill him, yeah, that's the one they're trying to kill, it just kind of keeps going. So it's kind of fun to see some of the pressure we get under, and
mhm.
and see it right there even in scripture that
Yeah.
there's always been this situation. this kind of fighting and this kind of suspicion and everything. And then he just basically stayed steady and kept moving forward to do what he was called to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we get clarity as well in our mind, like those 10 questions, or
Mm-hmm.
really understand our God-given rights, when we do that, it's a complete game changer.
Yes.
And plus, if you're tied into God, I think that's what's going to be motivating you. So you will go back to the Capitol because you could stay home. We love
Yeah.
America for the freedom we have. We could
Right.
sip coffee, or we could do anything but do that. But
Yes.
instead, do like the Patriots did in the past and do what we can to fight for, freedom,
Yes.
for liberty and everything. So,
As I always say, it's about God, the Constitution, and the proper role of government. If you understand those things,
mm,
especially like the proper role of government, it's such a flippant comment or statement, but it's like the proper role. Why was government created? It was to protect our rights. It
mm,
says that right in the Declaration. The
right,
Declaration recognizes our rights come from God. It says,
right,
and to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. That's the reason why government was created.
right,
And so in that training and in the book, I don't have constitutional rights. I have constitutional protections.
right,
The Constitution was written to protect our rights. I don't have a First Amendment right to free speech. I have a natural God given right to speak my mind. The First Amendment was written to protect that right,
right.
and so on and so forth. And so when you're going to talk to your representatives, you're like, you got one job. It's to protect my rights. What is all this stuff you're doing? What are
Mm,
all these games you're doing? Does
right,
the Constitution allow you to do those things? Does it grant you authority to delve into any of those areas?
right.
So when you understand those perspectives and you walk in, they're
Makes it,
they're gonna they're gonna it makes a huge difference.
and they don't even always know.
Exactly.
I was talking to a young patriot the other day, and he said he was with someone who had written a bill or had turned in a bill.
Mhm.
And he went to the man's office and was talking about the bill. And the guy goes, I wrote this. I submitted this. And the young man was very, very disappointed because he thought, oh, this guy he's not clued in.
Right.
And there's a difference in the ones that are. And of course, some can grow there, right? They can
Yes.
get clued in. But that just because they're in office doesn't mean they're clued in.
Right.
Or they know some of these truths, just like I'm learning
Yes.
these truths myself. So,
And it's one of the reasons why I kind of have a challenge on the idea of term limits. And here's why. I'm not necessarily against it, but technically we have term limits already. We can vote them out of office. But
right,
the issue is, and this was explained to me by a dear friend who ran for office. He became a state legislator in Florida, and they have term limits there. And when you're new, and he's an attorney, so he understood the process to a degree. But he wanted to file a bill, and he went to this one committee's staff, and the staffers were like, "Oh, you can't do that. Yeah, we're going to change this." He's like, "No, wait. This is my bill. I wrote that." Well, no, I mean, you can't do that. They argued with him and said, you have to change this. You have to, this won't work. And he's like, hang on a minute. This is my bill. I am the one who was voted by the people.
right,
So the issue is, it's the staffers, the career staffers that run the place. You're just the face that comes in and out, and you've
right,
just got a couple terms and you're going to be out. And that happens with the lobbyists. The lobbyists walk in and say, "Oh, Janet, you're working with Representative so and so. Weren't you with Senator whatever last year? Can you get me an appointment?" And so the lobbyists are there all the time. The permanent
right,
deep state staffers are there all the time. And
right,
that's what's going to now multiply that to DC. It's going to be even worse.
right.
The revolving doors of this facade. Yeah, you were elected, but we know how it runs here.
Right. Right. Same on the very local level. I thought at
Mhm.
first, I'm not going to Austin. I'm just going to do the local stuff because the local stuff is so well over here. We
Right.
have issues with HCAT, our appraisal district. They're looking
Mm.
we're looking as a community for a forensic audit, and the people over it are fighting tooth and nail not to do that. And there's clear need for it. Our school board, same thing, where they just go, well, we'll just wait you out. You'll be gone soon. Now, me, they don't know what to do with because I don't have children in the system. They're like, well, how long will she kind of hang on to keep coming and talking? But your average parent gets in and gets out, or they move away. So
Right.
the administration just carries on. We'll just wait out that person,
Mhm.
or we'll snuff them out through the way we treat them.
Yeah.
Like just eventually get it to where it's not worth their while. And of course, you're also dealing with, like in the GISD here or the ISD, full-time people. They're being paid to be there all day. And you're a volunteer trying to go, let's change something. That's a completely different. You know what I mean? They've got 40 hours a week to concentrate on how they want to control the situation. And you're over here, wanting to push some things. So we're hoping for lots of cool stuff to happen this year. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping to get people involved early in the process so that even we can go for a no new revenue tax rate as well. So,
Mhm.
but if we don't start now, by the time they start talking about budgets, it's too late.
Absolutely.
And one of the trustees here said to someone in a private conversation that if there were 100 people who showed up, she might do something. She might change. And I kind of wonder if she will. But anyway, I think I need 100 people to show up.
That great segue. That is key because, we've been doing this how to grow a grassroots army training, and I'm doing
Right.
another one next Wednesday, February 5th in the evening.
Okay.
I'll put a link down below as well.
Okay.
And it's super important. Bring more people, bring more precinct commitment. We have more people locally. And a good friend of mine, Tom Gatens in Florida, is going to be my guest host. He's
Okay.
been involved in Republican politics since 1988. He
Okay.
was a state committee man for the last 7 years, Tea Party organizer. I mean, he's done so many things. And the whole point isn't, I'm going to teach you all my things that I know. The whole point is to facilitate this conversation of best practices. What works in your area? What'd you guys do? Here's what
Right.
we did for that. And so that's what we're going to be doing next Wednesday, February 5th in the evening. I'll make sure there's a link down below.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm going to be there. I'm learning. I know that Shannon and I were talking about, oh, that was a good idea. Oh, that's good. Oh, I see. Just some
Mhm.
little things you can tweak and change to make sure that you're really engaging your community. Otherwise, they're going to go to sleep again. They're going to think, oh, well, now we have this great
Yes.
president. Everything's going to be fine.
That's key.
And the local stuff definitely has not changed. We definitely have to work on it in our
Yeah.
area. And yet we all voted for Trump around here. We did do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
That's awesome. That's good. As we always say, once you awaken, it's hard to go back to sheep.
Yes, that's good. That's
Love it.
good.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless you, Monica. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks for this interview. I'll talk to you later.
Bye. Sponsored by Hidden History Laboratories, uncovering hidden truths that shaped nations. Learn more at hiddenhistorylabs.com.